Okay, so for this assignment, we will be looking at weather fronts, and our central question is what are the different types of weather fronts and how do they create weather events? So a front is a transition between two air masses of different densities. So we have two kind of types of air masses, warmer air masses and colder air masses, which we have been looking at over the past couple of days. And we're going to see what happens when when different types of air masses kind of interact with each other, because that's what causes weather events. Um, so you may be familiar with this image here on the left. If you've ever watched the weather on the news or on the Weather Channel, you might recognize some of these kind of funky looking symbols. Those actually represent different air fronts or weather fronts. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. And to complete this assignment, you're going to use a simulation using this link right here. And using the simulation, your job is to kind of complete this chart. And what I'm going to do is show you how to complete the first row for a cold front. So you can literally just copy what I do right here in the video, and then you'll do the other three on your own. So I'm going to open up the simulation. I'm going to open it up in a new window so that I can kind of have both side by side. Okay, I'm going to put this over here. So this is the main screen. You'll see here's your 4 fronts that you're looking at: cold fronts, warm fronts, occluded fronts, and stationary fronts. So like I said, I'm going to show you how to complete the assignment by doing the first one for you. I'm going to click on a cold front. And to get more information about each front, you'll click on the little button up here in the left-hand corner of the simulation. So I'm going to click on cold front. Okay, and just to kind of show you what you're looking for, that you need 3 pieces of information using this simulation: the symbol that is represented by this front on a weather map, what causes this type of front to happen, and what type of weather occurs at the boundary of this type of front. Okay, so first we're looking for the symbol. Okay, and for cold front, it says it's marked by lines of blue teeth on weather maps. So if I X out of this real quick, down here, this lower portion, this is what they're talking about. So this blue line with kind of blue jagged teeth, that represents a cold front. So in order to add this information to my chart, what you're going to need to do is just Google cold front symbol. So cold front symbol, images, and here it is. So just choose one that you like the best. I like this one. So I'm going to copy the image, go back to my assignment, and paste it in there. And I'm done with that part. Now what I'm looking for is what actually causes this type of front. So what causes a cold front to happen? So I'm going to go back into my simulation. I'm going to click on the information tab again. So marked by lines of blue teeth on weather maps, cold fronts happen when cold air, denser and heavier than warm air, pushes against the warm air and slides underneath it like a wedge. So you could either do one of 2 things. You could literally copy this information into your chart, or you could kind of do it in your own words. So I'm going to slide this over so we can see it and make this smaller so we can have it side by side. Okay, so cold fronts happen when, and it says when cold air, which is more dense than warm air, pushes up against warm air and slides underneath it. Okay. And one other thing you can do using your simulation is kind of model this, so I'll show you that in a sec. The warm air is forced upward, and as it rises and cools, expands, and loses its ability to hold moisture, it creates clouds and eventually precipitation and usually more intense thunderstorms. So that would be information we could add to the last column, which asks what type of weather occurs at the boundary of this type of front. And for this column, I'm okay with you doing bullet points. Okay, so it creates clouds. It eventually creates precipitation and more intense thunderstorms. Okay, the last thing you can do is kind of model this type of front, and to do that, you slide the cold air front towards the warm air front. So I'm going to click on the cold front, move it towards the warm air front, and you can see what happens is cold air kind of goes underneath because it is more dense, it's heavier, so it sinks, whereas the warm air that's less dense rises, and as it rises, it cools, it creates clouds, rain, and eventually thunderstorms. Okay, so that would be all I need to add for my first front. Then I would use my simulation to kind of complete the rest of the columns, which is for warm, occluded, and stationary. To get back to the main menu, you click on this green menu button in the top right-hand corner, and you can go back to all the different fronts that you still need for your chart.